It's kind of an interesting story because I had two people telling me about this music, or several people in fact, telling me about this music at the same time. And one of them had a really negative view of Nicodé, and he said it's really not worth even opening the music, whereas a few other people said that it's really good. So obviously I had to resolve that issue and went in search of the music myself, and actually really liked it. So I found, first of all, the 6 fantasy pieces, which I think are Nicodé's, possibly his masterpiece, which are souvenirs of Robert Schumann, and they're also dedicated to Clara Schumann, so as one might imagine, they're very Schumann-flavoured, but I think really very expertly crafted. So while I think a lot of other composers might have tried to imitate other composers' music, Nicodé does it so well that in itself the music deserves to be heard. The same is definitely the case with the Variations Opus 18, which are large-scale, serious work. And at the other end of the spectrum, the 10 poems, or character pieces really, Opus 22, which are at times very charming and very light, and they all have lovely descriptive titles. Things like Happy or Lonely or A Memory, which I guess the music doesn't immediately actually sound like the title at first, but when you kind of think about it a little bit, it adds an edge to the interpretation and gives the music a bit more depth as well. So I think the 10 poems might seem on first playing to be very light, almost shallow pieces, and perhaps that's what actually puts some people off Nicodé's music in the first place. But as I've got to know the music, there is a depth to his composition which I think is really appealing. I think it's quite surprising that his music has vanished in the way it has, and so many musicians and audiences have never heard the name Jean-Louis Nicodé, particularly because at the time that he was composing, there were many other composers, particularly in Germany, Brahms and Wagner spring to mind, who were at the height of their powers. And Clara Schumann was very much still around until 1896. And I'm not sure whether they met, but he certainly felt enough respect towards her to have dedicated arguably his best set of pieces to her. So the world that he belonged to was so incredibly successful and so incredibly busy and ripe with musical activity that I think it's very sad actually that he has disappeared, and hopefully that's about to come to an end.